Well, good afternoon for one more session of the Grandma's March event. And this year, we have a very special theme for the year and a very special guest today. And the theme for this year is Grandma's March. It's time to revive our roots and ask ourselves, what did we do once we knew? And this is part of an amazing movement that we probably already saw in the opening session. And the idea today is to have Jyoti here really like bringing into her space how her work, how all that is she doing in the world right now with the coordination, with all the message she brought from the mother in the opening session, is like, how is she working with this? And how the fountain is also bringing into the space, bringing into the world, calling all us to bring to come together in oneness. Um, I don't want to again introduce Jotima, but I think it's always very important to give you a space to introduce yourself because you already participated in the opening session. So everybody already knows who you are, but Jotima is somebody very special to me because she was part of the first session of my project, Grandma's March. And she just from the beginning said yes to the call, yes to the grandmothers, yes to the ancestors. And that's why this year that is time to revive our roots. I thought about her. It's like she needs to be here. She was part of that root. She's part of this project's roots. And that's why she is here with us. And thank you, Jyoti, for accepting again my invitation. And I know we are in synchronicity this year because the theme of the year for us is what did you do once you knew? And as soon as I connected with her, I found out that the fountain, her organization, and her, they are working with the coordination, which happens to be from Colombia, which is my motherland. And they have a message as well for all of us. You know, it's a call from the mother. And I will give you the space to tell us more about that and that video, that message, and what is happening with that, and how are you working with it. So welcome, Jyoti. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Monica, thank you for inviting me, for thinking about me and sharing that story of how we came together. And I love that behind you, you have the roots of life,
Yeah.
this root of this wonderful tree that's guiding our talk today. So, you know, um, what can I say about this moment that we're all standing in? My gosh, it's a prophetic moment.
It is.
It's a moment that's been prophesized and stories told about this moment that we're in. Um, it's a moment that in the Eagle Condor prophecy, when I was down in Colombia in 2013, or actually a little before in 2012, um, I I was told in 2013 when I went back that there was a new part of the Eagle Condor prophecy that was opening, that we were about to enter a 13-year deep cleansing process that like never before. And if you take a moment and look back at these last 13 years,
It
whoa,
really has been.
it has been things no one ever could have thought about, right? But there's our evolution is marching. The Mother Earth is in her ascension process. We're at the end of a life cycle, of 26,000 years. When I was in India over there for some time studying with my teacher, Dhyan Yogi, I'd go into some of the sacred ashrams and places, and they would have a clock on the wall, and the clock would show from 12 to 1 was 2,500 years, from 1 to 2 was 2,500 years, all the way around the clock until 26,000 years. And the very last part of that cycle was all in black, and it was called the Kali Yuga. It's when the ending falls down inside itself so the new beginning can happen.
Yeah.
So we are in that period. We are
The
in that
time of
place.
Kali. Yeah, Kali is like destroyer, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And as the mamos would say, and their prophecy as they speak about it, the ending will fall into the beginning in 2026.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's important as the ending falls down that we observe it, witness it, so we stay informed, but to stay focused on that which is breaking through, and that which is breaking through into the new dawn will be carried by those individuals and movements and organizations that are based on the original principles. That's our roots.
Mm,
The original principles of mother law, of the earth herself, heart, reciprocity, collaboration, unity, all life is sacred, compassion, tolerance. These are the original principles. And so we are now in a moment, we're in that last 2 years. And so the last 2 years, the Mother Earth brought her message, Mother's message, which you all saw this morning. And that message is telling you what these next 2 years are going to be about. That she brought us through a period of cleansing and grace so that we would be awake to make choice. And in order to do that, we have to come back to the roots of who we are, and we have to embody those original principles so we can fully wake and step into our own spiritual maturity so we can serve the Mother Earth as she moves into the new dawn and ascends into the fifth dimension.
mm,
Will we go with her? We're making that choice.
right.
When you and I were talking earlier before getting on here, um, you were checking in with me about kind of how did I get to this spot? You said introduce yourself. I'm a grandmother. I'm getting ready to celebrate that next year, which will put me into walking the 77th year around the sun.
So,
Um,
bless you.
and from over 40 years ago, the Kundalini awoke in me, and it was 13-year process I went through for her to reconstruct and realign this vehicle of service, this temple, so the Divine Mother could step inside and start to orchestrate what she sent me here to do and to serve. And it started as far as my work in the world by bringing me into community, that for her emphasizing the need for us to restore that relationship with community. She brought me up the top of a mountain on the Sierra foothills here in California. And many would come to join us on top of that mountain. We would step off the grid. We would step what we needed to step out of a throwaway society. We needed to draw a line in the sand that said no more abuse to our children. We needed to heal ourselves from some of that history that we had lived through, and open our hearts and cleanse our hearts and do the work of unpacking the karmic suitcases we carry from birth. We came to clean a family line that would go back to those original roots of our people. Um, we were living on top of this mountaintop. We call it the Crystal Mountain, when our elders would find their way up our 14-mile logger road to initiate us into these original principles and to help us remember a way of life from that original time. They helped us remember and come back to ourselves. We didn't know what we were doing when we went and heard something and answered a call.
Yeah.
We sacrificed what we did know to go into the unknown and embrace it. In 1998 in ceremony, the mother came and she said, I'm going to give you one of my most precious baskets. And in that basket are some of my most treasured jewels. Those jewels represent lines of prayer that go back to the original time. Do not mix them. Do not change them. Protect and keep them safe. Walk them through the doorway of the millennia and hand them back to me. I have something we're going to do. Now, when we received this vision, we didn't really understand it. We were very innocent in ourselves. We were very devoted, but we really didn't go to the mountain with aspirations. We went because something called us, and we went because the call was so strong we could not say no to it. So when this basket came, and this mother came in such a strong presence for us all, we began to hold it. And up our road came these elders that would initiate us in these medicine lines of prayer that went back to those original times. And as they did that, we would begin to remember the protocol of the earth that each of those lines taught. We would begin to come back and remember ourselves, because here in the West, we've been cut off from the nature of who we are. When that cut came and cut us off from the nature of life, and that happened in the late 1500s, when colonization started to march across this planet and put a genocide in motion for most of our original people that were caretakers of this earth and that were caretakers of these original principles and protocols, this mother law. So we were blessed. I don't know how this happened. I'm humbled by it constantly. It was not it's not been an easy path. We had to go through a lot of cleansing. We had to shake our trees of understanding and untangle ourselves from colonized belief systems and thoughts, and free ourselves and our hearts so the energy of love and that intelligence could start to light our way. We had to reconnect with our ancestors who had their hand on our shoulder and were guiding our way. We had to humble ourselves a lot. We walked through as we were getting close to that doorway of the millennia, many of us inside of our circles started realizing that we were getting these messages about a council of grandmothers. We didn't understand it, but we carried it. Before that would happen, 9/11 occurred. And when 9/11 came down, all the ways that we had set up our community, the legal structures fell down too. Those legal structures had been established to protect this basket and these earth-based ways of prayer. That's when one of my spiritual sons came and said, Mom, you're going to have to set this up like a church. That will protect these old ways. And I said, oh my goodness, I hope our community's mature enough and strong enough to deal with the shadow of the church.
Of the church, it is true. Yeah.
Yeah, it was strong. It was a strong cleansing and healing that occurred over many years. And as this occurred, this instruction with the different lines occurred. And that was more cleansing, and that was more humbling of self, and that was more renewal and restoration and a coming back to that mother law. That became that when we opened that church, it became the Center for Sacred Studies. You could go to our website, centerforsacredstudies.org, and you can learn more about that story. An amazing group of people. And from that, other communities started to pop up that we helped to found. A sister community that one of my spiritual daughters opened up in upper state New York. We have a large community that's over 26 years old in just outside of Prague.
Oh.
And we had a home in the Brazilian Amazon for 22 years. So this is kind of the footprint of Kayamari, the name of our community that grew us and still holds us. We birthed our babies there. We've sat in vigil as some of our members passed and went on back to mother and into the arms of the ancestors. And we've taken care of restoring a hoop of life that brings that moment from birth till death and all that's in between, to sit together and share with one another and know that our authenticity is the voice each one of us carries. And when we reach that place of authenticity,
Mm.
and we can sing a chorus together that's quite sweet and harmonized, huh?
I love it.
So that's what, that's what opened. And then this basket, we took it through, and in 2004, we opened up, we convened for the first time the Grandmothers Council. We
Mm-hmm.
met in Upper State, New York at the Dalai Lama's Medicine Retreat Center. And we thought we were going to do it for 1 year. But then when the grandmothers came together, they decided they wanted to stay what they called under the blanket of the Center for Sacred Studies while they took time to grow themselves and see where this prayer was taking them. And they named themselves the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. And this became a global peace march, if you will, through the grandmothers. It brought the grandmothers into full light. And it brought healings everywhere we went. We learned so much by going to each grandmother's home place and meeting the roots of who they were, and diving deeply into their culture, hearing their language, which is so important and to us all, and the caretaking of this earth, to meet the different ways their regalia, their dress, to meet their relatives, to meet this sacred land on Mother Earth that
Mm.
they caretake. We learned a lot, and we learned so much. We studied with them and carried and served that process for 10 years. And a couple of years before that was about to complete, the grandmothers were going to fly off on their own. The mother gave us another sacred vision, sacred seed, I call it, and that was called the fountain. That would later be called by the mamos the fountain for natural order of our existence. Now, we didn't know what that meant when they gave us that name, but we've come to understand it. And the way that has worked is that my sister, Loretta Afraida Bear Cook, who I'd worked with for many years, we're still working to get the Black Hills returned to the Great Sioux Nation. And we walked and met with elders, and they call that the heart of everything that is. And the La Sierra Nevada in Colombia is, the mamas call that the heart of the world. So the
Yeah.
heartbeat mother is really getting activated right now. And so she went with me. We had been in Brazil yet, one of the grandmothers' gatherings in Brazil, and I, for the first time, met Saga Carmen and some of the mamos that had traveled with her. And I had asked her about this kind of nudging I was getting about the fountain, whose mission is to restore an economic model that's based on reciprocity and collaboration and guided by the sacred and nature. And Karma Saga said, yes, you must do this, Jyoti. It's based on feminine principle. And you must follow this through. So I went away. It was about another year and a half before the vision would get really active and push me and say, now's the time. And then I know when the mother gets a strict voice with me, I
Oh,
know
yeah.
no more messing around. She's the alchemist of all time, and timing is the element of alchemy. So when she says it's time with that kind of strict voice, I know
Mm.
It's time to listen to what she said and just go do it. So we went to Colombia, and when we got there, Saga Carmen had brought um, many mamos and sagas from the four original people. And at this point, we've worked with three of them, the Wiwa, the Arawaka, and the Kogi, and now they prefer to be
Mhm.
called the Kagaba. And in the last years, particularly, we've worked the closest with the Kagaba. And for
Okay.
those that don't know about the four original people, they call themselves the elder brother, and they're called that by many nations around the planet because many of them still live high, high up in the La Sierra Nevada of Colombia, and they still live in the original way of life. It's not been touched by the West. And when some of them are guided to come down from that mountain, they come with great sacrifice because the mother sent them to wake us and to keep us awake. And
Mm.
as they say right now, in the collaboration that they're doing with us at the fountain, they've asked us to be a filter to the younger brother so that they can bring messages that will educate the awakening. Now, the mamos are the men spiritual leaders. The sagas are the female spiritual leaders there.
Got it. Okay.
And the mamas are when they're caught at birth, they are seen as beings that are coming with a high level of consciousness ready to open. And so they are taken into the caves and they do not see the light of day until they're 9 years old.
Wow.
And then they come out and they go through a evaluation to see if that consciousness has fully opened. And if it hasn't, they go back in the caves until they're 18. And I've been with some that were in the caves for 28 years. So you can imagine that they have been living in the source
Oh yeah. Yeah.
all
And
this
so,
time. And so when we went to them and we asked them, I wanted to be sure I was hearing the vision correctly. And if I wasn't, we'd just go back home. But for many days, we went into consultation with them and dialogues. They took us up into the La Sierra. And after that time, they said, yes, Jyoti, it's time for the fountain, and we need to sit there too. So since that time, we go to the mamos, they go into consultation. They give us the instruction with what the fountain needs to construct
mhm.
itself. Then we walk that out, my staff, our team, our community, and then we hold ceremony for gratitude for what we've learned. Then we go back for the next set of instruction. And that is what has brought us to you today in the form that the fountain has been made into. So it truly is one of Mother Earth's instruments. She sent the instruction.
Right.
It is
Right.
her instrument. And so we are sitting here so humbled that we're here poised in this moment of prophecy, in the moment of her ascension, to be in service in this way by following the instruction of the original people without question, without
Beautiful.
question.
Yeah.
And that's what brought you the message that you heard earlier this morning. So it's been this line for over 40 years that has come up and through me and through our community, through kind of a little bit of the story that I'm sharing with you today. And I bet if some of you sit down and look, that you would take a little moment that you can follow the thread that she's been weaving through you and with you to bring you to this moment we're all sitting together celebrating through the grandmother's march, the root of life. And I love the question that you've posed, what did you do when you knew?
Yeah, I know. It gives
So
me goosebumps. It's true.
some of what I'm sharing with you, this is what I've been doing when
What
I
you
knew.
knew.
And all the way through the path, the mind got stiller, the heart got opened, we got more aligned with the breath of the earth, with the heartbeat of the earth, with the life source of this earth. We humbled ourselves. and we came to sit in awe at the mystery that is so visible to us all right now. So, yes, let's get all the grandmothers globally to stand up and march. Let's all of them, because they are the ones that are watching over the life makers. They're at that line of wisdom as a life maker. And our men are standing beside to protect the life makers and to listen to the vision and intuitions and inspirations that are coming from the feminine so they can make form that will carry it in a good way. It's this dance between the masculine and the
Mhm.
feminine that's going to move us with harmony in and through the keyhole of the new dawn. So that's a little bit of a way to introduce myself.
Just a little way. Yeah. Oh wow, Jyoti, that is amazing. It's like what a journey. What I don't know, it's just an inspiration of how humble you have been of listening the call and just always showing up and and just doing the work that it needs to be done. And definitely like when this question came to me and now it's like that's why it's like such a synchronicity because that's what you have been doing all your life, like listening to the call and doing something about it, not just okay I listen this but yeah I will go back to my comfort zone or my life. No, this has become your life, your purpose, your organization, your people, and supporting like Mother Earth, supporting all these original people that are bringing the messages, and you're there also as a, like as a bridge almost, and that's the way I see it. That connection between them and all of us. That
Mm.
some of us we're listening to the call but sometimes we don't know what to do with it. Like my purpose is this. It's like okay I open the space and I say to you also earlier is like I play with this because it's like okay I don't want to also feel like this is something that is oh my god what I have to do this, and no, this is something that is like I want to take with love and play, and because this is beautiful. I heard the call and I'm here and I'm just being a vessel, and people that needs to show up to this space are showing up like you. And that's what we need to do, just pay attention and listen, I guess, right?
Well, she said to us early on in the community, the key to the magic kingdom, just show up. And that sounded so simple,
Right, yeah.
but it can be a challenge.
It is.
But what's also is be open to the weaving of the mystery.
Mm,
In 2019, I had been invited to a summit there,
uh-huh,
um, Flourishing Diversity Summit in London. And I had been invited to curate the second of 3 days. And they were bringing together delegates from native communities from all over the, the globe. And they were inviting groups of people that they felt would really listen to what the elders said they needed and would support it with resource and service. And however the support was needed, it would show up. And so I brought some of the grandmothers, and some of the grandmothers sent some of their granddaughters. And so we had a day of honoring the water, a day of honoring the water in the morning, at noon, and in the evening. And it was the third day when we were just opening up for our last day, and it was a very full day. And we got the news very early on that 2.5 tons of radioactive water had been poured in the ocean from Fukushima. And it is still continuing to be done now. That's why the message is so strong from the mother. These maladies she can't continue to hold, and even more are being done every day. She can't go any further without bringing harm to the whole creation. That's why she's calling upon us to wake and help in this moment. Help ourselves. Help ourselves. She'll be okay.
Oh
Help
yeah.
ourselves. Help ourselves. And there were many fires being set in the Amazon, which are the lungs of the earth. As we heard this, one of the Maori elders that was there in full regalia went into a call to action traditionally. We all felt this lightning bolt of energy that struck us. And the mission that came forward was the mother saying, I need my sacred territories back in the original caretaker's hands now. It's time to declare your own sovereignty, claim your roots. And so we went into meetings. We were trying to meet. We met, finally got together and met until early morning hours because we were all flying home the next day. And they asked Loretta, Afraid Bear Cook, and myself, and Irina Rose, who later got ill and wasn't able to continue the march with us, to hold this thought and to continue on with it. And so we did, and it's become the Mother Earth Delegation of United Original Nations. There are 28 delegates for those, our youth ambassadors. And we've come to that mission, and it's in motion about protecting and those sacred territories, those sacred cultures, those sacred languages, and restoring the original caretakers to them, because she needs them. They're like her acupuncture points. They need to be open so she can breathe and heal. And so that is also something she weaved in that was, I didn't
Right.
know that was coming, but she does that. She weaves these pieces in like she's braiding sweetgrass for sacred prayer. So I think what I've learned over these decades is that you just have to, she says right now, the most significant practice that we can do is to stay in the present moment. That she will bring everything we need. She knows the alchemy of our soul and what it needs to catalyze itself and evolve. So if we can stay in the present moment, it's a practice. When it's held as a practice that we do all day, every day, it's not something we go do later. It's something we do every day. We watch our mind from our sacred witness. And when our mind jumps ahead of that present moment, it can get scared and bring fear back. Or if it jumps behind, it can bring regret into the present moment. But if we witness it and just touch our hearts and realize present moment, this is the discipline of the mind, the alignment of the body, the heart, the soul, present moment, then she'll bring everything we need. And when we've embraced what that teaching is in that present moment, she'll take us to the next one and the next one. And that's how we march. And once we march like that, then you come back to her rhythm.
Yeah.
You return to following
Oh,
instead of trying to navigate or negotiate or lead.
yeah,
You
right.
lead by following. And I found that is amazing medicine for each and every one of us to help us in that realignment and that recalibration of our entire system in order to hold the new coding of the new dawn.
And I love what you're saying because we all forgot how to walk in that rhythm. It's so crazy today. It's like the system is just driving us crazy, all of us, and we're lost. Everybody's lost. Doesn't know where to go, or they forgot to connect to their hearts first, but also to the essence, to the fountain, to the source, and
Right.
to that rhythm. We just completely forget what is that. Yeah, we feel like we're losing our time if we are present. Like, yeah, no, I need to do something that is productive, and no, you're right. It's just like, of course, it is a path that sometimes takes things to get to the next phase, and there can be obstacles and things like that, but it's different. It's just it feels like playing, because sometimes that's why I always bring that back. It's like, because playing you have challenges and obstacles,
Mhm.
but at the same time it feels, I don't know, it feels fulfilled. It is fulfilled. Like there is a lot of joy into that, and there is a lot of flowing, and there is a rhythm, and nothing is pushing. There is just like divine timing around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
become like a leaf in the river of life.
yeah.
And the river
It is
carries you.
true, and we all
River
forgot.
carries you, and the river is going back to the source.
Mm,
Um, it's a time of us beginning to step out of our doing and live our being.
yes, yes, yes.
Then we become human beings for the first
Oh,
time.
we need that. Remember who we really are.
Rita Blumenstein, who was Yupik, she was one of the 13 grandmas. She lived up in Alaska. She's now gone on back to their ancestors. She was a beautiful soul. I loved her. She told us stories about what some of her mother and the elders would tell her. And they would talk about that the earth really was, had we just all been living in this with the earth down in these lower chakras. And it was about learning survival, our animalistic survival. And now we're moving to the heart. She's pulling us straight up into her heart.
Mm.
That's that ascension moment, because once the heart, then she continues to ascend. And they said this would be the first time that humans would realize their human beingness.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And that when the story was told that in the original days, the birds were black, but when this moment started to happen, the birds would start to turn white again. And many species are offering up white.
Yeah.
You know, the white eagle is here and flies among us with his wisdom. The white buffalo came. There's been many
The
that
white
have,
lion as well. Yeah.
they've come
They are
back in. I
showing
mean,
up. Yeah.
there's a long list.
Yeah.
So we're in that time of
Mm.
realizing and beginning to embody our human beingness. So it's a
Yeah.
time to celebrate, even with all the wild craziness. But
Yeah.
that's why I come back to community. Find your community, lean into a community, let your children be touched and live through and with community. It's the root that will hold us through the windy times. Yeah,
Oh, Jyoti, this has been so beautiful and amazing. It's like, let's all reconnect. And it is time, definitely. It is time to all of us revive our roots and ask that question to ourselves. Like, now that we know, what are we going to do with that? Right?
absolutely. And you're creating a community through these marches,
Yes.
so let's let's let the grandmothers to march and let's all get behind them. And then I also image just popped up, and then I know we'll need to complete, but you know, when I've been marching as a granny for some time now, and I've met with the most amazing youth around this planet that are coming in as old ones with so much clarity and not
Yes.
afraid to speak truth to power at
Mm-mm.
all.
I
They're
love it.
amazing. And it's not an easy walk. They're carrying a lot on their shoulders. I met with some of them in Europe, and they were saying, Grandma, we can't sleep at night. We're having nightmares. It's really hard. And I said, well, I want you to know that the grandmothers and grandfathers are circled around you. We're here to listen to
Oh,
you. We're here because you bring a wisdom, and we don't want it all to be on your shoulders. So know that that's how we're holding life with you.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah. And you're bringing that, but it's also feel that this is the time where those new generations have to reconnect to the, not only to the ancestors, but the elders and those that carry the wisdom that are here today, because that connection is being lost as well. All the new generations through technology, they're distracted with other things. But I can see that that's, yeah, that needs to happen. That is
You know,
also something that is very sacred, and that yeah,
yeah,
we
because
need to,
there's what we're talking about here is sacred technology.
that's it. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to be going in late summer over to Europe,
Uh-huh.
to
Mm.
the pyramids over there. And what on one panel I'm in, it's about science, you know, and spirituality, and the need for them to come together.
Yeah.
Uh, and you know, as I sit with my elders, they talk about the sacred technology, the sacred science of Earth, that is also now coming to the forefront and sitting down with Western science. Some of
Mm.
my elders say they're just catching up with where we already knew we were.
I love it. It's true. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, it's been such a pleasure, Jyoti. As always, it's like I don't want to go, just like to keep talking here and yeah, keep playing with you because it's always amazing and I learn so much from you and I'm so thankful, really, like for having you here. For being able to bring you to this space and also everybody have access to your wisdom and to your love and kindness and all the amazing things that you're doing. So I can just thank you enough. And I hope this is another one more time of the many that are to come that we're going to be together in this path for sure.
I hope that also.
Yes.
And I'm humbled by your invitation to bring me to your table. And I give great thanks for all of those that have heard your call and are sitting around this table with us today. So blessings to you all. Have a blessed, blessed day.
Oh, have a blessed day and thank you. And just look for more to come on Gratitude Much Smart. Lots of great speakers and great things coming. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.